Greetings and namaste. My name is Dr. Dave DiSano, and today's topic is near-death experiences. Are they real? Now, over the last 40 or 50 years, this phenomenon has been increasing exponentially. My background is I started out as a science teacher, then became a psychologist. I'm also a hypnotherapist, so I've always been interested in paranormal studies, and the burning question I've had throughout my life is, why are we here and what happens when we're not, when we die? So if we look at near-death experiences, they've been increasing over the last 40 or 50 years. And what exactly is a near-death experience? It occurs when an individual has a death experience. They clinically meet the qualifications of dying, either through an operation, their heart stops, they have a heart attack, they have drowning, accident, traumatic illness. And what happens is they leave their body, they're fully conscious and aware of leaving their body. They can recall events that are happening around them and even in other locations, such as hospital waiting rooms. Then they're returned to the body, being able to recall these events. Now, this term near-death experience was first coined by Dr. Ray Moody, a psychiatrist who started collecting these types of experiences from patients. I believe he worked in a hospital, and he was talking to individuals that were recounting experiences when they were on operating tables or their heart has stopped. He collected over 150 cases of these events and published a book in 1975 called Life After Life. He actually came up with the term near-death experiences, Dr. Ray Moody. Now, a contemporary of his, Dr. Kenneth Ring, also started studying the events. He was a psychology professor from the University of Connecticut, and he even taught a class in near-death experiences. He wrote a book in 1980 called Life at Death, and one of my favorite books of his is his 1998 work, Lessons from the Light. In Lessons from the Light, he discussed over 20 years of researching near-death experiences. Now, medical science has always had a problem with the phenomenon because they can't prove it. And testimonies of individuals could be that they've heard things or they're recounting different aspects of what they went through when they already had prior knowledge. So it was very difficult for medical profession to actually say that these things are real. But a doctor named Sam Parnia wrote a book called Erasing Death in 2013. And Dr. Parnia is a expert in resuscitation science. He taught classes and teaches proper techniques all over the world of resuscitation. And he also discussed in his book what is death, what is clinical death. And he also was interested in the phenomenon of near-death experiences. One thing he discusses in his book is that the term near-death experience can be misleading because these people actually meet the clinical definition of having died. So he believes it should be called actual death experiences. And he also is involved in research. He started what he terms the AWARE study, and it is a 4-year study involving 15 hospitals throughout Great Britain, involving 2,000 patients that had died in cardiovascular units. And of these 2,000 patients, 40% recall exactly what happened. And he proved clinically that these accounts were real. So Dr. Parnia talks about consciousness able to leave the body, and one issue that science and medical professionals have is that they know the brain, they know the regions of the brain, but to accurately determine where consciousness comes from and what it is, they are not able to describe it. Dr. Parnia proves in his research that consciousness can actually leave the body. So if consciousness can leave the body, and our consciousness, our soul, our spirit, that which makes us us, our ego, our id, if you will, is intact and can leave the body, and again, near-death experience people can recall what exactly is going on, not only in, let's say, operating rooms, but oftentimes what's going on in other parts of the hospital and waiting rooms. They can accurately discuss and verify what was going on. So again, through Dr. Parnia's research, millions of testimonies over the last 50 years of these near-death experiences, we have actual clinical proof that our consciousness does stay intact and can leave our physical body. This opens all sorts of phenomenon and doors, if you will. Things like the spirit dimension would be real if our consciousness stays intact and leaves our body. The spirit dimension is in fact real. Our soul may be eternal. That could be real. Reincarnation may be real if in fact our consciousness can leave the body, as these studies prove. In my next segment, I'll talk more about what near-death experiences actually tell us and why they've been increasing over the last 50 years. Thank you so much for listening. If you go to my website, divinelytouched.com, you can find out more about what I do and even what my wife Mary does and her miraculous healings. Thank you, and namaste.